A tense silence reportedly fell over the courtroom as one of South Africa's most recognizable political figures stood before the bench, his voice unsteady, his words carrying far beyond the walls of the courthouse. In a moment that stunned observers, Julius Malema was said to have broken down in tears, declaring, "I am the sole breadwinner." For a man known for fiery rhetoric and unshakable confidence, the emotional display marked a dramatic shift, and it has since ignited intense national debate. The scene unfolded amid ongoing legal proceedings that have kept the leader of the economic freedom fighters under sustained public scrutiny. Courtrooms in South Africa have long been arenas where politics and law intersect, but this particular moment struck a different tone. Reports from those present describe a charged atmosphere as arguments centered on financial pressures, legal costs, and personal responsibility. Julius Malema, a dominant voice in opposition politics and a figure who has shaped national conversations on land reform, economic justice, and state accountability, now finds himself navigating a legal battle that carries both political and personal weight. The case, heard within South Africa's judicial system under the authority of the High Court of South Africa, reflects broader tensions between political power and legal accountability in a constitutional democracy. According to accounts circulating in media circles, Malema's emotional statement came during arguments related to financial obligations linked to the case. While specific details remain subject to legal confidentiality and ongoing court processes, the broader context is clear. The financial strain of prolonged litigation can be immense. Legal teams, compliance requirements, and procedural delays often create mounting pressure for anyone involved, particularly public figures whose careers are tied to public perception. The claim of being the sole breadwinner introduced a deeply personal dimension into what has largely been a legal and political matter. In South Africa's socio-economic landscape, where unemployment and inequality remain pressing concerns, the language of breadwinning carries powerful symbolism. It speaks not only to family responsibility but to broader anxieties about financial stability in a volatile economic environment. For Malema's supporters, the emotional moment has been framed as evidence of a human side rarely seen in political theater. Many argue that the courtroom scene demonstrates the toll that legal battles can exact, even on those accustomed to public confrontation. Within the F support base, narratives have emerged emphasizing resilience under pressure and the burdens borne by leaders in high-profile disputes. Critics, however, interpret the episode differently. Some analysts suggest the emotional appeal may influence public sentiment, particularly in a country where political narratives are often shaped by symbolism and perception. South Africa's political history is filled with moments where courtroom drama has altered trajectories, shifted alliances, and redefined public images. The broader political context cannot be ignored. South Africa continues to grapple with economic stagnation, energy challenges, and voter frustration ahead of future electoral cycles. Opposition parties, including the EFF, play a critical role in shaping policy debates and holding the governing party accountable. Against this backdrop, any courtroom development involving a senior opposition figure carries implications beyond the immediate legal arguments. Institutionally, the judiciary remains a central pillar of South Africa's constitutional order. The courts operate independently, and proceedings involving public officials are subject to the same legal standards as those involving private citizens. Legal experts emphasize that emotional testimony, while compelling, does not override procedural fairness or evidentiary requirements. The outcome of any case will ultimately depend on the merits presented before the court. Political observers note that Malema's public image has long been defined by strength, defiance, and unwavering rhetoric. A visible display of vulnerability represents a departure from that established persona. Whether this reshapes his political narrative remains to be seen. South African politics is dynamic, and public opinion can shift rapidly in response to unfolding events. Public reaction has been mixed. Social media platforms have carried both messages of sympathy and sharp criticism. Some citizens view the moment through the lens of empathy, recognizing the strain that prolonged legal disputes can place on families. Others question the strategic timing of such statements, particularly in high-profile proceedings where media attention is intense. Importantly, the case underscores the broader issue of financial accountability within political life. Leaders in democratic systems often operate under heightened scrutiny, particularly when legal matters intersect with questions of resources, compliance, and governance. Transparency, due process, and institutional integrity remain foundational to public trust. As proceedings continue, attention will remain fixed on the courtroom. The potential consequences are significant. Depending on judicial determinations, outcomes could range from financial penalties to reputational impact. However, speculation remains premature. South Africa's legal system is designed to weigh evidence carefully and ensure fairness for all parties involved. The emotional declaration, "I am the sole breadwinner," has resonated beyond legal transcripts. It reflects the intersection of personal circumstance and political responsibility. In a country where economic hardship affects millions, such words carry layered meaning. Yet the judiciary's task is not to interpret symbolism but to apply the law impartially. The episode also highlights a recurring feature of South African democracy, the powerful role of institutions in testing political leadership. From parliamentary inquiries to judicial reviews, accountability mechanisms shape the national conversation. Courtrooms become stages not only for legal argument but for defining moments in public life. For the EFF, the situation presents both challenge and opportunity. Internal cohesion, public messaging, and strategic response will influence how the party navigates this period. Political movements often rally around leaders during times of adversity, but they must also manage perceptions carefully in a competitive electoral environment. As the nation watches, one reality remains clear: legal processes move deliberately, not dramatically. Headlines may amplify emotion, but judgments are rendered on fact and law. South Africa's constitutional framework ensures that even the most high-profile figures are subject to due process.